Hey, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to Life Mastery Decoded for women and women entrepreneurs, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships with mind mastery and meditation tools and techniques so that you can live the life that you're proud of. Welcome to today's podcast. So, my story of how I became so obsessed with personal development to go from this mid-20s, late 20s, a woman who's in one crappy relationship after another, dealing with crappy jobs and crappy friends, and having this very negative life and this very negative outlook on life, to now this person who studies everything personal development like crazy. I have over 200 books. I have courses, PDFs, people that I follow, just like you do. But I just have this obsession with personal development. Any single time there is a struggle in my life or someone close to me, I immediately am either Googling it, YouTubing it, looking for a book, looking for a course to try to learn so then I can help them. And that has been my life for years and years and years, several years, 20, 30 years probably. And how did I get started? Well, I was in this relationship that another unhealthy relationship, and she was trying to if you are gay, then you know that it's kind of hard to come out sometimes for some of us. And it was hard for her to really identify with that lifestyle, and it was she was coming from a background that was really challenging, and she didn't want to tell people, and people would suspect, and then she would make sure to, quote, prove it to them by cheating on me with a man. And so that happened several times within our relationship. So if you have ever been in a relationship that the person that you're with is cheating on you, and now you can't trust them, and this stuff goes on, and then you pretend to forgive them, but you know you can't trust them, and in your mind you're like, I really should let this relationship go, but then you don't for whatever reason, and then you become bitter toward that person and resentful, and then you just become angry like me. So I'm in this relationship and I'm very angry, and I'm very angry at her, and I'm angry at our whole entire life. And what would happen is that I would find out that she cheated on me, or she would tell me, however I would find out, and I would get really mad. We'd have this big fight, and she would go and she would temporarily move back home or into an apartment or a rental somewhere. And then of course we would stay in contact. When the first time it happened, we really should have broken up. All signs pointed to, all red flags were waving in front of me, and I continued to say, yeah, but if I could just convince her that she's gay and help her to get over this hurdle and this struggle, that then she'll love me, because that's what she says. She's like, I just don't think I can be gay. And I'm like, okay, well, if I can get her to believe that she's, to accept the fact that she's gay, and then we'll be together. That was always my foundation that I stood on in this particular relationship. So during one of the breakups, one of the cheating and one of the breakups, I had decided, through this fit of anger, rolling around on the bed, probably throwing things, what I used to do back then. And I get done in this fit of anger, and I'm laying on my back on my bed, and I'm breathing hard because I was probably just throwing this temper tantrum again, because here I am again in the same situation with, it's just another guy, and another time that she cheated on me, and the same story and the same conversation, all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't want to be in this position anymore. And I don't want to deal with this with anyone else ever again. I don't ever want to feel this way ever again. And that meant two things. One of two things. It meant that I was either going to take my own life to end this pain, or I was going to force change. And obviously, since I'm still standing here, I forced change. And what did I do? Well, I remember standing up, wiping the tears, taking a few deep breaths, kind of coming back to center, coming back to neutral, feeling a little bit calmer, and saying, there are other people out there who have great relationships. There are other lesbians out there who have great relationships, I just know it. Of all of the people on this planet, there is love to be had. And there is love to be had by me. And I made that decision just then. And whatever happened after that was not by my own device. I literally grabbed my keys and walked out the door and I drove to the bookstore. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't think of it before. I didn't all of a sudden say, hey, I'm going to go find a book. I don't even know what happened. But all of a sudden, I find myself walking in to Borders. Now, some of you know this bookstore, right? I don't think it's in business anywhere anymore, but I go into the self-help, which was not normal for me. Most of the time at this point, oddly enough, I used to say how much I hated reading. But I go to the bookstore and I'm in the self-help aisle, and my biggest struggle is what? Relationships. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go into the self-help aisle and I'm going to look at books there and just see if anything comes to me. And I see this book. It practically falls off the shelf, but obviously something caught my eye. And it is called How to Win the Love You Want. And it is by Thomas McKnight and Robert Phillips. Now, I wish I could show you a copy of my book, but I bought that book. And this is like the first book I bought with intentions to change my life. I have bought other books before, just for the enjoyment of reading. But this particular book, as I sat in their chair and I flipped through the pages and I flipped through the contents, the table of contents, and I'm reading, and the reason I laugh is that I'm flipping through this book right now, and it is, wow. I mean, it is beat up with notes and dog ears, and the binding is completely broken. The cover is missing. But I'm reading through the table of contents, and it is talk with confidence. It is pacify their fears and gain their trust. It is exhibiting self-mastery and leadership ability, being irresistibly likable. Because at this point in my life, I was not likable. So what I did is I brought this book home. I flipped through quite a bit of it in the store, and I bought the book, I brought it home, and I started reading it. And what I started doing, which is what brought me through this difficult time in my life, this book became my relationship Bible. Because I was so negative and I had such a negative outlook on life that I could not see past my own negativity. And here's my analogy. If you listen to my other podcasts where I talk about the blue powder and the orange powder when we're setting intentions and we want other people in our life to show up differently, and it's like the analogy of this person shows up and I immediately throw blue powder on them and then I get mad that they're not orange. So I set the intention of, I don't know why I'm going to my in-laws, my father-in-law hates me. He treats me like crap. Well, every time you do that, you are recreating the scenario that he's going to treat you like crap. Now, we're not talking about that today, but what I'm suggesting is that you throw orange powder and say, I wonder how it's going to go today. Okay? So that's kind of the gist of what I was talking about with intentions and energy. So what I started doing is I had intentions of changing. I had intentions of making my life different in a result of getting out of my own way. Because what I say about negativity, just like throwing powder, is as you're walking down the street, you throw a pile of dog crap in front of you on the sidewalk, and then you get mad that you stepped in it. That's what your intentions do. So we have to think the things behind you are the things that are already manifest. The things behind you are the things that have already been created. So don't keep talking about them if you don't like them. So with this book, I started reading the chapters and immediately implementing what it was saying. Immediately saying, act with confidence, and maybe don't be so quick to give your time and give all your energy and give all your love away. If we're talking about relationships, So what I started doing is kind of being a little bit aloof. Like she would call me and I wouldn't answer the phone, where before I would run to the phone and be at her beck and call. So there were times where I might deliver something to her. Let's say I would send her flowers or a note, put a note on her car or something, and then I would bug her for 73 hours after that. But instead, now what I did is I might put a note on her car and then I wouldn't talk to her for 2 days. So what happened is it started kind of shaking her confidence. If you go back in time and look at all of the wonderful romance novels and all of the wonderful romantic stories, you will understand that either the woman or the man, one of them, was not so easily giving up their love, their time, their attention to the other. They were creating passion. So what I was doing in this relationship that created this level of unhealthiness is I was too available to her, which then she took me for granted, because she would cheat on me. A week later, she would tell me that she cheated on me without any understanding that there's a possibility that I'm going to leave this relationship, because she was so confident that I wasn't going anywhere, that she could continue to treat me poorly and I would continue to be there. So what ended up happening is I started reading this book. I started going through the chapters and I started implementing the things I was learning. What ended up happening before we broke up is that she became head over heels for me. Because now, as we broke up and I started dating this other girl, she was at my door. She was at my house. She was calling me all the time. She was always at the places I was going. And and I'm like, it's over. And I never went back. But now I became more confident. So as I moved into other relationships, I was more confident in creating the love that I want. So finding this book is what led me to personal development. And I encourage you that if you are in a relationship that is absolutely unhealthy in whatever way, that you find the book, that maybe you share this episode so other people can be helped, can have the light shine in their direction, so they can get out of and they can find the love that they deserve. I encourage you to like my YouTube channel that's called Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind, my Instagram page, and you know what? I encourage you to make a comment somewhere on any of those pages letting me know if this podcast helped you to step into your confidence and create the love that you want. It was a joy today. I appreciate you listening, and I hope this finds you well, and I hope this builds your confidence. Check out the book on Amazon. I have the link in the description. Until then, thank you, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this episode, please take the time to like and share. Also, please visit me on my other social media pages. I'm on Instagram, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I'm on Facebook, where we have this community titled Life Mastery Decoded, and it's a community of women and women entrepreneurs where we come together to support one another in sharing our successes and struggles. You can also check out my YouTube channel, where I share my teachings and my personal journey, and it's simply titled Jen Mack, Jenmac. Have a great day, and I hope to hear from you.